There are different areas that you can work in the nursing career here in Germany. One of them will be working in a hospital, and another one will be working in a nursing home. You could also be working as a travel nurse and so much more. But in today's video, I'm going to be focusing on working in a hospital versus working in a nursing home. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Right now, if you get your contract in a nursing home or if you get your contract in a Krankenhaus, that is a hospital, you need to understand that in your first 2 years you're still going to work in both of them. You have to work in both of them. Either way, whether you work, you get your contract in a hospital or you get your contract in a nursing home, you still have to go and do Ausbildung in both of them. So let me begin with the nursing home setting. The nursing home setting, the old people are here to stay for a long period of time, as opposed to the hospital, whereby they could be just there for a short time because of the illness, and the doctor has to take care of them. That is why they have had to go to the hospital. After maybe they were in the hospital and probably they have nobody at home to take care of them because they're actually old. In Germany, you find that a lot of old people don't have people to take care of them. So in this case, they are forced to come to the nursing home. So that is the reason why the nursing home is there, because they have no families, and you find some of them have no like they never got married, so they have nobody. They just have, let me just say it, like they have the government. Now they're now old, they are sick, and they have nobody. So the only person that's going to take care of them is probably the government, or if they had they have the money, yeah, then they have to come to the nursing home, and that is where they're going to be taken care of. So that's going to be like their new home. The patient has to feel themselves like it's their home. They can bring something that they had at home. Maybe it could be an old couch. They could have it there, and they could have they have their clothes. It's just a normal day for them. They take it as their home because that's like their new home. They're going to stay there for as long as they are going to live, maybe for the rest of their life. But some of them also come there just for short periods, depending on who is taking care of them back at home. So if they have families, or maybe their families have traveled, or at that short period of time, it could be a few months or a few weeks or a year. That's like Kurzzeitpflege. They would just be in the nursing home to be taken care of because they have nobody who is going to look after them in the house. So which is why they come to the nursing home, as opposed to you working in the hospital. Most patients in the hospital only come to get treated immediately. That's Akutpflege. It could be they're going to get an operation, or they're going to have a Diagnostik Untersuchung, which means they're going to run scans on them. They're going to figure out where the problem is, and the doctor is. That's why they're going to be staying in the hospital. So patients staying in the hospital don't necessarily have to feel themselves like they're at home. A hospital setting is not a place someone likes to be. It's just a place someone is there because they're feeling unwell and they just want to feel better and go back home. So in the hospital, the patient's biography is not as important in a hospital as it is in a nursing home. So if you are a certified nurse in a nursing home, then you need to understand the biography of your patient. You have to plan their care, right? And in their care plan, you have to include their biography, like how they grew up, all those kinds of things. You might have to include it yeah, because it's important when you'll be interacting with the patient, because the patient is going to be there for the longest period of time. So you need to understand this person, you need to understand their needs, you need to understand their hobbies, you need to understand what careers were they doing, what are they interested in. There are different things that happen in the nursing home that don't happen in Krankenhaus. In nursing home, it's more like I have told you guys already, it's more like at home. So they bring these people a lot of like Beschäftigungsangebot, just to make them happy. There's a different category of people. They are called Betreuungskräfte, who come and do these things to these people, but the qualified personnel, they can also take part in that. So in a nursing home, there's a lot of social interactions taking place. Taking care of these patients, it doesn't necessarily have to involve blood or you know, cleaning them or something. So a person can be working in the nursing home as a betreuer. So all you have to do as your job description is to talk to these people, because these people, they're very lonely and they need people to talk to them. Some people don't have families, so for these people it's very important when you interact with them and you talk to them and they feel like you're actually being a part of their life, you're influencing their daily activities. So those people who are doing Betreuung in a nursing home, that is actually all they do, talking to these people. And we have another category of people who do physiotherapy. Also the Therapeuten, they come and do maybe exercises, Krankengymnastik with these people, because the old people don't like, they don't move a lot, and if you don't move a lot, your joints are going to be stiff. If you just stay in one position, actually it's not very good. You need to move. So this is another category of people, but this category of people are also in Krankenhaus, because people in Krankenhaus, that's the hospital, they go to get operated, and sometimes they also lay in bed for quite a while. So this Therapeuten, they are also there to also help these people be mobile. Like, you need to be mobile even after you have been operated. You need to be mobile. So the Physiotherapeuten and the alle Therapeuten, they also work in Krankenhaus as well as the Pflegeheim. And also in a Pflegeheim, the doctor is not always there. The doctor only comes to check on the patients during the Arztvisite. The doctor will come and visit the patients in the nursing home according to the needs of the patient. They can come maybe monthly, or they can come every week probably, or every 2 weeks, it depends. But the doctors only come to check up on the patients also ab und zu, and they're never there on a daily basis. So because the doctors are not there on a daily basis in a nursing home, it means the people that the geriatric nurses have to stay in constant communication with the doctors, and they do this through a fax. So if a patient needs anything, the geriatric nurses have to contact the doctor and let him know the Zustand of the patient, also wie sieht es aus, die Allgemeinzustand of the patient. If the patient is, for example, is a diabetic, then you have to talk to the doctor. Which kind of medications does the patient needs? Is the patient going to be getting insulin spritzen, also insulin injections or not? How are they going to handle the patient? So the doctor has to give all the directions, and the nurse is now going to take care of the patient according to the directions of the doctor, and the doctor will do this through the fax. So the doctor will write a letter, and the nurse is going to get it through the fax, and vice versa. So if the patient needs anything, for example, the patients that have wounds, the materials that are supposed to be used to take care of the wound, to nurse the wounds, the doctor will also have to verordnen these things. You know, everything is done nach ärztliche Verordnung. So the nurse is not the one to decide which kind of medication the patient is going to take. That is going to be decided by the doctor, even if the doctor is not there. And when the doctor comes to visit the patients, yeah, they can always talk to the doctor about how the patient has been behaving, and the patient can also communicate with the doctor at that point in time. That's it, as opposed to the hospital where the doctor is there 24/7. Another difference would be, for example, in a hospital, the Aufgabe of the students is very different from the Aufgabe of the students in a nursing home. If you go to the hospital, students or volunteers, people who are volunteering in the hospital, they are allowed to take blood pressures of the patient. They are allowed to take the vitals of the patient, even if they have not learned it in school. They are allowed to take the vitals, so they are allowed to take the blood pressures and to check their blood sugars, to check their temperatures and all the vitals. But if you come to the nursing home, those things are only mostly done by the people that are qualified, you know. And in the nursing home, these things are not done regularly, like daily. They're not done daily. They will only be done if there's an emergency, for example, or it's usually like a routine. It's done maybe once in a month, once every new month. They're going to check the vitals of their patients, but that's usually done by the qualified geriatric nurse, as opposed to the hospital where the students get to do this on a daily basis. Mostly, actually, whether you're coming in the morning shifts or in the late shift, you still have to do this, because the patients in the hospital are being treated at that moment, and the doctor has to keep track of their blood pressures and everything at that moment, in order to ensure that they're actually stable, because most of them are under medications and stuff at that particular moment, depending on the Krankheitsbild of the patient. So that's the difference. And maybe in the hospital, you also you will see that a lot of patients who come in, they have to be given an infusion, or like they always have this Nadel. So and in Germany, the doctor is the only person who is allowed to puncture the vein, probably, like most of the times. Yeah, how I have been working, I only see the doctor is the only one who's doing that. But I know in other countries, nurses can do this as well. But in Germany, the doctor is the one that's going to puncture your vein and set up that, Vigo, yeah. So where the medication is going to be injected in your body. So the nurse is only going to prepare the infusion and come and direct it here, where the doctor has already punctured your vein and stuff. Same with the catheter, the Herz catheter, that is the central venous catheter. Nurses are not allowed to do that. The doctor is the one who has to do that. So your job is just to come and change the Verband that is there, according to how regular it's supposed to be changed. So that's the work of the nurse. And another thing that the nurse is doing a subcutaneous injection. That one you're allowed to do it on a regular, because if patients are out of the operating room, then most of them, they always get like a thrombose spritze to prevent them from getting a thrombosis, because after operation es steht schon eine Gefährdung, dass man eine Thrombose kriegen kann, and it is very gefährlich, which is why you have to inject the patient with the thrombose spritze. Yeah, so that would be like another Aufgabe of the nurse in a clinical setting. If you see at the nursing home, yes, the geriatric nurses can also do the thrombose spritzen, because they also learn about the post-operative care of patients. And if you're taking care of patients who have come out of the operation room and maybe later they stayed at the nursing home, they stayed at the hospital and they were discharged and they came back to the Pflegeheim, if there's a need for them to get the thrombose spritzen, then the nurse is the geriatric nurse is supposed to do that. And also in the nursing home, you'll find that geriatric nurses don't do infusions on a daily. Like they don't get, like you have to richten, like you have to vorbereiten a lot of infusion on a daily in the hospital. That is just like the daily thing you have to do in a hospital. You find that almost every patient in that particular station is going to get an infusion. So a nurse who's working in a hospital gets to do this on a daily basis, and he does that very regularly, as opposed to a nurse who's in the nursing home. The patients don't get to get an infusion on a daily, and you cannot do that on all patients, because not all patients need to get infused at that time on a daily. And another difference is that if you work in a hospital, you don't get to wash people daily. You do not get to wash people daily. You don't get to bath people daily on a daily, because a patient can come there and most of them will be like staying for 2 days or 3 days, and probably they can take care of themselves, But in a nursing home, you'll find that some patients, or most patients, cannot take care of themselves. Yes, we have those ones that can take care of themselves, but in a nursing home, you do a lot of the cleaning. Like that's most of the time, that's what you're actually doing in a nursing home. Personally, I prefer working in the hospital. I haven't worked in the hospital setting for a very long time, but I have enjoyed working in the hospital more than working in a nursing home. And you find that in the nursing home, you'll find some people are not even professional, but they still work there. But in the hospital, it's very rare to find people that are not professionals working there. Yes, there are people that are volunteering, of course, but rarely would you get people who are just, because if you come to the nursing home, anybody can come and work in the nursing home. Like you're going to just wash people, unless you're qualified. That's when you're going to be giving the people the medication, you're going to be talking to the doctor, you're going to be handling all these other stuffs, that has to be concerning the patient. You're the one in charge. But you see, as a student or as a person who is just doing like a Pflegehelfer or the Pflegehelferin, the only thing that you get to do in the nursing home is just to wash people. Yes, a student in a Pflegeheim, if you get to your second year, they're going to allow you to be taking the blood sugars and maybe do insulin spritzen, and because you don't get to also do the infusion on a daily basis. So the only thing that you're going to be doing is just talking to the patients and cleaning them and helping them with mobilizing them. So that's just about it. Not so much goes on in the in the nursing home. But if you're also working as a travel nurse in the ambulanten dienst, that's a very different case scenario. There, because you're traveling to the patient's houses, it's also a very different case scenario. You just get to do like a lot of Behandlungspflege, But I really enjoyed working in Krankenhaus as opposed to the hospital. And because if you work in as opposed to the nursing home, and the nursing home, you're back you're always going to have this back aches because you're just lifting people up and down, even if you have the machine to lift the person. But it's a lot of workload, you know. And this cleaning people, you're not really learning a lot of things on a daily. But when I have been working in the hospital, I have just been doing the things that I feel like I have to do as a nurse. And to me, working in a hospital setting, you will just see me looking very professional. Like the hospital, you just feel like it's very professional. When you come to the nursing home setting, oh my god, I think I did another video and I told you guys I was in Hae.zy and I had no shield, I had nothing, like I was just looking like a janitor. I went to the hospital. I know it's not like that in all nursing homes, but this was just an example. Like I felt more professional working in the hospital than I felt working in the nursing home. I don't want to say I will regret that I have spent a lot of time working in a nursing home, but honestly it's quite annoying for me. Like I feel like I've missed out a lot. The hospital is designed for people not to stay there for the longest time. If you stay there for the longest time, then probably you're under intensive care or you're under palliative care. So that's why in the intensive, it's also probably you're in a coma or you've just been operated on, so that's why you're in the intensive care unit, or probably you have like a chronische Krankung oder lebensbedrohliche Erkrankung in that particular moment. So that's why you're in the Krankenhaus. The different departments that are in the hospital are not the same departments that you can find in a nursing home. In fact, in a nursing home, yes, there can be departments, but you cannot compare them with the departments at the hospital. For example, also Chirurgieabteilung, Innere Medizinabteilung, also Gynäkologieabteilung. Like in the hospital, there's a lot of things going on there, and most of the times they just don't deal with old people. They're dealing with different people, and they're dealing with a lot of different Krankheiten. A person who's taking care of an old person has gone to school to learn about how to take care of an old person. So this person might not necessarily know how to take care of a sick child because they have not learned it. And if you have learned how to be a certified geriatric nurse, that is the nurse that is working in a nursing home, then probably if you want to be employed maybe in the gynecology, you might not get that opportunity because you have not studied it, so you don't know you have much about young children or things to do with the pregnancy and the birth and how to take care of a lactating mother. So you haven't learned that, so you don't know. You only know how to take care of the old one. So the way a patient is assessed in the nursing home might be maybe a little bit different from the way a patient is assessed at the clinic. The reason being is because the patient in the nursing home is going to be there for a long time, and the patient in the clinic is not going to be there for a long time. So once you're formulating your like your goals for that particular patient, you cannot formulate long-term goals for a patient in a hospital because the patient is going to leave. But in the nursing home, you have to formulate long-term and short-term goals at the same time, because once after like a period of 3 months, you come and evaluate the goals and what you did to the patient in order to achieve the goal. But in the hospital, that might not necessarily be the case because the patient is not going to stay for up to like 3 months. You know, that depends though, but most of the time, if it's acute flaking, then the patient is definitely going to be leaving within a short period of time. Right now, I am having my Hae.zy in Krankenhaus, And in Krankenhaus, like where I am right now, you know, they don't have to write a lot of information about the patient, because yeah, once the patient is taken in, the patient is definitely going to be assessed at that moment. So you'll see the patient is not going to be asked about if they are married. Yes, when you're feeling the Aufnahmeblatt, whatever, like if you're feeling the information, your information, yes, if you're married, definitely you're going to state that you're married or not. But it's not like very important information as it is if someone is being taken in a nursing home. In a nursing home, that's a very important information, because if the person is suffering from dementia is, a lot of old people suffer from dementia. In Germany, there's a lot of people that have a lot of like psychological issues there. I don't know why, but yeah, there's a lot of them that actually have the dementia. Like once they get old, they start forgetting a lot of things. So if you find that someone forgot a lot of things, they can't remember their life, maybe the short-term memory is gone, but they can remember like a long-term, like the long-term memory might be there. You know, there are different stages of dementia, and there are different kinds of psychological problems. So you might find someone remembers, maybe they have a child, or remembers the child's name, or you might find someone forgot even like their own self. They don't know themselves anymore. They don't know where they are. They don't know where they're going. Like they forgot everything. So in that kind of case scenario, you might want to, the biography of the person is going to be a very important part of you collecting information about this particular individual. But when it comes to the hospital, unless it's the psychiatric department, probably, I haven't worked it there, so I don't know how they run things in the hospital, the psychiatric unit. But in the normal hospital setting, the biography of the person is not as important as it is at the nursing homes. So a geriatric nurse is all about improving the quality of life of the individual, from all you know, the social life of the individual, the psychological aspect, the physical aspect, everything is put in together. So even if you're nursing the patient physically, even if you're nursing their wounds, whatever it is that you're doing to the patient according to their needs, their medication and stuff, you also have to be there psychologically for this patient, and you also have to be there socially for the patient. Some patients want to be talked to a lot because hospitals are lonely, but you find that in the hospital setting that's not going to be the case, because yeah, the nurse is just going to come in, take the vitals of the patient, maybe administer the medication of the patient and whatever you're going to do, and just walk out. So that's depending on what you're doing. It might just take like a few minutes and you're gone. So there's not so much time for you to actually bond with the patient and get to know the patient in detail as it is in the nursing home. And also something else is that in the nursing home, if there's an emergency, probably the emergency, if a patient has probably fallen down, I don't know why, but why people break their bones very easily, especially the old ones. I haven't seen my older grandmothers breaking their bones like the way these grandmothers here break their bones. Someone will just fall down right now and the bone is going to be broken, so they have to be rushed to the hospital, and you might know the next thing, the person has to be operated on and stuff, and some of them end up, you know, never walking again. Now the nurse, the geriatric nurse, has to write a report on that, how it happened up until the patient fell down. She has to write all that, and in that moment you also have to call like the notarzt. If it's like at night, you have to call the notarzt or the Bereitschaft arzt to come and and help out with the patient. So they'll see if they have to take the patient to the hospital for further checkup und Untersuchungen to see how far the damage was caused. So in that case, these things cannot be done in the nursing home. The geriatric nurse has to send the patient to the hospital. So yeah, the only thing that the geriatric nurse is going to do at that point in time is probably like a first aid and to assess if the person has any kinds of pains or the person has been injured wherever on the body. So yeah, those kinds of things. But the patient has to be sent to the hospital for further checkup to see if they have anything worse on them, like an internal bleeding or something like that. The similarities would be like the way you handle the older patients in the hospital is the same way you handle the patients in the nursing home. So some patients have like stomas. In the Krankenhaus is the same. I mean, in the hospital is the same thing. The way they take care of these patients is the same way they take care of the patients that have the stoma. And also the patients that have diabetes, they get taken care of the same way, just in the hospital and in the nursing homes, but probably in the hospital it goes deeper. In this case, if you go to the station that is specifically for diabetic patients, you have to experience a lot of the different stages that they have to undergo through, or how bad their diabetes is and how bad it has affected them. So there's a lot some petty similarities, but there's a very big difference when you go to work in Krankenhaus and when you go to work in Pflegeheim. Yeah, and also in Krankenhaus they use a lot of medical terms. Like they use a lot of medical terms. Even the way they do their Übergabe in the Krankenhaus is very different from the way they do it in the Altenheim. And you'll find some of the colleagues that have not maybe done the Ausbildung or stuff, they don't understand these things in the nursing home. Yeah, so you can't be sitting down there explaining to people in medical terms. Nobody's going to understand you. And in the Krankenhaus, you see like every patient, when you're talking about a patient and then you're talking about his diagnosis, like this patient came in today, he has this and this and that diagnosis, his vitals were taken, this is what you have to do, this is the kind of medication you have to administer to this patient, he has to be infused with this kind of antibiotic medication. So those kinds of things. And yeah, the documentation is also quite just slightly different. So you find that if you go the Pflegeheim, if you write the Bericht, people will just be always writing. Like I remember where I worked, it's all about how the person feels. You have to make the patient feel at home. So if you're writing the report, then you're just going to be writing like, oh ja, Patient ist geduscht worden, fühlt sich wohl, Haut ist intakt, keine Intertrigo. Also that's how you're going to write your Berichte. Wirkt keine Schmerzen, but in the hospital nobody gives a damn if the patient is geduscht worden. Like, you washing the patient is not like the most important thing you have to talk about, the Übergabe. Not really. But when you come to Pflegeheim, yeah, you have to say if the patient, how the patient will behave. Yes, you have to see how the patient is behaving in both parties, but in one party, like cleaning the patient is more important. In this other party, yes, cleaning the patient is also important, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing at that moment is to make sure that the patient has no pain, the patient is getting better, because that's the reason why the patient is there. So if you're looking into being in the nursing career, you might as well just want to analyze where you can fit in nicely, like what exactly you want to do. So it depends on you. You yourself, you make the choice. So the pay between a geriatric nurse and a nurse who is working in a hospital, it differs slightly depending on the organization and depending on the province. Some provinces pay more. When the provinces, I mean the Bundesländer, yeah, they differ. And you can find also, if you're in a village or if you're in a big city, the pay might also slightly differ because the living standard is a little bit different, which means probably if you're living in a city, then your rent might be a little bit higher than a person who is living in a village or a small town. So there's a slight difference, but all in all, a Krankenpfleger gets probably 300-400 euros more than a person who's working as a Fachkraft. But depending on how long you've worked in that place, because the longer you've worked in a place, the more your pay is going to increase over the years. But the increase in this pay, it's always just, you know, just slight increment, not that much. Because if you look into the people that are also into travel nurse, or the people who only work in außerklinische intensive Pflege, they might get more pay depending on the organization. So I'm just saying, like, these things all depends on the organization. You're the one who has to look out to which one actually has better pays and what are their offers, because some also have different offers. For example, if you're working during holidays, then you might as well get extra pay. Private hospitals don't really pay much. Like, yeah, private institutions don't pay as much as these other public institutions. Yeah, I would say that. So if you're looking into being in the nursing career, you just have to figure out where you really want to work in. Personally, I have fallen in love with working in the hospital. Yes, I never liked being a nurse. But right now, I'm just trying to give it my all, even if I know it was not like something that I really wanted to do. But I'm learning how to love it, and because if I don't love it, then I'm not going to perform, you know. But I have embraced it, and I am loving it. So those are the differences and the similarities that you might want to look into if you want to start your career in the nursing world. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope this video was as educative as you would want it to be. And thank you guys so much for watching. Up until next time, bye guys.
We just got to keep it rolling. There's no time.